Today I'm speaking with Audra Noyes of Audra. Audra has built a beautiful women's wear brand and been featured in some of the most famous publications in the world like Vogue, Elle magazine, the New York Times. She was an intern for Lanvin, Zac Posen, Ralph Lauren. She's going to tell us some of the tools she's used to build a female-founded, successful, beautiful brand. So tell us a little bit about Audra and what your brand is and how you built it.
So for me, I initially studied fashion at Savannah College of Art and Design. And I think through my internships there at Ralph Lauren, and then I had a mentorship with Zac Posen, it really opened the doors for me to go to Paris to train and do an internship there with Lanvin and then work for Galliano. And I think there, through both of those houses, I discovered at a young kind of 22, 24-year-old, what I wanted to say through my creations, and also how the process in which I wanted to do it. And so that really informed the foundational, I think processes and operations that we still have today, though over the years we've evolved our aesthetic and grown operationally. The root of Audra is it's rooted in a conversation between me and my late father. He passed away when I was a freshman in high school. And I think that really led me to seeking creative mediums as a form of therapy. And then I really found a connection with him through the clothing I create.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so each piece that I create is really drawing from my father's tailoring. He was a surgeon, so you see nods to suiting and shirting and pants that are really the foundation and really the bread and butter of our business. And then there's this feminine voice of mine that has grown as I've grown, that's kind of weaved throughout, which I feel brings a real softness and effortlessness to the tailoring. And I think they complement each other and really speak to what my customer wants to wear right now.
Audra Noyes is a designer who is living so many designers' dreams. She's had her business for 7 years. She's been able to maintain ownership of her business. She is all female. She manufactures at facilities that are led by females, that are female owned. So I'm so inspired by her story, her ability to build her business and live her dream, create something very special in the fashion world.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I was really fortunate, like you mentioned, to be trained by the top creators, which I think developed my unique hand for illustration or draping, my unique eye for fabrics. But then when I launched a business, I quickly learned and had to learn some of it the hard way, the business side, the financial side.
Do you feel like when you started, Audra, that you knew your customer, like you were like so connected to what you wanted, or it's only recently or years into it then you figured out this is who she is?
Yeah, I laugh because you should probably know your customer from day one. I can honestly say that from like my first 2 seasons as a creator in 2014, 2015 to where I was by 2017, 2018, my aesthetic grew, but it was primarily driven by my understanding of my customer. And I think that's so important to really say like, not, oh, my customer's 35 and lives in New York. Like that's great, but what is she doing? What marketing does she respond to? What is her income level? What is she wearing to work? What is her other designers in her collection? What is she looking for? What is she not finding right now?
Audra is doing it. So I wanted to get some real world advice on how young designers, new people to the industry could enter it, learn a little bit, maybe avoid the challenges that she did.
Well, I think if I was back in school and I was, looking to be, in my shoes 10 years from now, I think having a variety of internships is really important. For me, that really shaped how I wanted to then have a business. So working for a bigger company taught me certain skill sets, and working for a couture or high-end luxury house in Europe taught me, another set of skill sets. And then finally, I worked for a small business independent designer like myself, and that taught me a kind of a third chapter of skill sets, and all were really valuable. And I think all three informed, what career I eventually wanted, but for me specifically, what business and model I wanted to launch. So if you're a student, one day wanting to have your own label, I would say be open to accepting different positions. It doesn't have to necessarily be at your dream design house to have valuable takeaways from it. And so that's something I really learned, through my training and through my internship program. I also tell young designers, it's so important because there's so much noise. There's so much fashion. It's not like, you talk that you're bringing innovation that I've never seen with Burr and things like that. But what I'm doing, though it's unique, it's still clothing, and there's other clothing out there. So for me, it was really important as a young creative, before I had validation, to kind of stay in my lane and be reminded that this is my voice and this is my lane. Because you can so easily be fooled.
That's such good advice.
In other ways. And you can see other people take off. And why am I not taking off? Or, but this
maybe I should do only tulle skirts. Why am I doing this? It's so easy. Right. That's such a good point.
Right.
It's so hard not to do that because
it's so hard.
So noisy. First of all, there's so many different aesthetics. Then there's many silhouettes. Then there's so much fabric. And then there's so much color. It's all these layers of diversity, and really sticking to your guns and saying, this is who I am. This is my customer. That in itself is a major accomplishment.
Yes, I think for me, I got pulled and I fell victim to some of those things of, this person who has years of experience is working for me as a consultant. They're telling me to do this. And I knew it wasn't in my lane. Or, hey, this brand is taking off and they're doing this, and maybe I need to jump on that wagon, even though I knew it wasn't in my lane. And I think at the end of the day, you have to trust that you know your customer the best, and you know what unique thing you offer to the design world. And so, it sometimes is a long haul, and it sometimes is the stars align in a short haul, but most of the time it's that long haul. And so for me, that's probably the best advice is, what do I do that no one else does? And I stick to that. And I don't need to offer new things yet until I see this be at a very strong revenue and a strong return on investment and really scaling. Then I'll add other categories and other offerings, right? But this is my lane. My last piece of advice would probably be that the fashion industry, and any industry, frankly, nowadays, it's so easy to have smoke and mirrors, So be discerning. You might look at a brand and they might have 75K followers on Instagram, and so you automatically determine that they're more successful than you. But maybe your customer is not on Instagram. Like the Audra customer, she's really not on Instagram. We do it, and it's a big part of brand development and marketing. But she likes to get things in the mail and get things by email. So that's not always, a determination of success. So I think just make sure you're, not comparing with something that may not be accurate, and look, I think that was really important for me to not get in my own head and to say, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what my points of success need to be and my goals are, and how do I continue to go after them and be strategic with them.
People say, grit is one of the qualities that, that entrepreneurs need to have. And that's a version of grit, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, any entrepreneur has to be scrappy, and we have to wear many hats, and you have to be working, willing to work long hours, but it's because you love it and you want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. but it's not handed to you. All of a sudden you're in Paris having your own brand show at Fashion Week. Like, it takes a lot of long hours, a lot of hard work. And I think for me, finding the right people to surround myself with, and being really quick to say, I don't need to know it all. I need to find the people who know it when I don't. And that was something that, like, I'm not the pattern maker for my business. Do I understand how to make patterns a little bit? Yeah, but I found somebody who's way better than me to make sure that my product is excellent. Or I'm not a financial expert. So I made sure to surround myself with somebody who could make sure that I was on a financial trajectory that was good for my business.
Right. That makes perfect sense. I love all of that advice.
I've been in the fashion industry pretty much my entire life, since a teenager. I've had my own lines, I've worked for other brands, and there's so many challenges to overcome. Audra talked about some of the tools she used and some of the things she's learned to overcome those challenges. What challenges have you had in building your fashion career or in building a line? Comment below and let me know, and I'll message you back. Thanks so much, and I appreciate you subscribing.